Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. This is the African Actions Network. I am James Johnson. Today we have a very special edition. We have with us Honorable Saywalla H. Dayrell. Now, most of you have may have read books, and those books are published by individuals. Today we have the book entitled "The Roadmap to the True Independence of Liberia." It's a book that has been published by Honorable Dayrell. Now, let me ask you, the true independence of Liberia. Well, whatever that's in the book, Honorable Dayrell is going to tell us more about that. So we're not going to waste our time because I'm anxious to know what is in the book. I haven't read it, I'm be honest with you. So I'm very, very anxious to know what is in the book. So with no more time to waste, let me ask Mr. Dayrell. Mr. Dayrell, welcome to Two-Way Radio.
Thank you, James.
Okay. Um, Firstly, how is life with you?
Well, fun.
Okay. And you have published a book. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Mr. Dayrell? Where did you come from? What motivated you?
Uh, I'm Saywalla Dayrell, hail from Liberia, Lofa specifically. Uh, yeah, I was motivated to write this book because, many times uh, people say it's good to travel when you are small. And for me, I'm happy that I travel at the time I was grown up or I'm grown up. So I understand Liberia society before traveling and what I saw as an independent nation. What are the benefits that your citizens supposed to get? And considering back home, my own experience, what I saw, and what led to the kind of a result we got in this election, it means that the citizen of Liberia does not feel that independence. And that, led me to write a book long before even this going election. And we saw that the prediction I made and wrote a book, the book was with the publisher before the election. And it just came exactly as I wrote. I thought and I wrote. And everybody felt that there was a time for change.
Okay, so what is your, let me ask, your academic background? You care to tell us something? Which school you went to in Liberia and elsewhere?
Um, I graduated from the Simiri College High School in Douala, and I managed to go to the Cedar. I got first the AA degree from Cedar John College. From there, I enrolled at the University of Liberia. Uh, Major accounting and minor economics. And fortunately for me, when I travel, I just in September got my master's in human services with specialization in leadership and organization management.
Okay, so let's see. What is the title of your book? What is the title? I mean, I want to hear from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, the title of the book is Roadmap to the True Independence of Liberia. And below that, you see Liberia and Liberian first.
Okay, so why the topic?
Uh, in this book, we try to look at why we are the way we are in Liberia and why we are like that. Normally they say you don't blame, the place you fell, but blame the place you stump your toe. So I wrote a book almost like 2 years ago, and close to finishing the publication, we got into the election period, and everything that was going on was just in line with what I predicted. All right.
Okay.
And um, it just suggested that um, it just proved to me that people were in agreement, good people were in agreement with what I thought few years back while writing a book. And I was so happy for the change. And this change, or what we experienced, was not just we it came from somewhere. And that's what I will be deliberating on, to tell the Liberian people where this thing came from and how it went through as like a virus. It's contagious. Corruption and bad governance is contagious, and how it transferred up to the George Weah-led government.
Okay, so before we go deep into the book, I'm looking at the phrase in the true independence of Liberia. Liberia was founded in 1847 and July 26. Are you in disagreement with that as per the context of your book?
No, I'm not in disagreement. Liberia was actually like God is independent 1847 and founded 1822, but that's why I'm going to go farther when I tell you where the whole thing came from, because the people who founded Liberia, the motive, the mindset, I want to dive into that. Then we'll get to understand exactly, why we don't enjoy the kind of freedom that we're supposed to enjoy as citizens. And that's why below the roadmap to true independence of Liberia, I put Liberia and Liberian first.
Okay. So I'm still pushing you on that question because I don't know nothing about the book, right? And I pick up this book and I'm looking at
Sure.
the title. Like you sent me the title when I was doing the flyers. I see, okay, Liberia, the true independence of Liberia. I want to understand whether Liberia never had. Maybe I started misjudging the book already, right? Because I have the true independence of Liberia. Wow, is it suggesting that Liberia is not truly independent? You
Well, there
know,
have been a lot of argument even in the halls and other places around Liberia as to whether we actually were colonized or actually we got our true independence.
right?
Okay, when we go further, you'll get
Mhm.
to understand that we're not really colonized, because when uh okay, we can go in the book now. When the traditional people was living in settlement, all right, and the ACS came in with the free slaves, and at some point in time, these superpowers stay around our territory. The British, the France, that's why you see Africa, you see the British, in uh, were around our territory. And then when the guys started to engage these people, then they asked them, why are you engaging us? Are you representing the Americans? Because the British recognized our territory to be for the Americans. So they didn't know that, that there was something, some group of people there trying to form independent state, because America at the time had the kind of agreement, like a protective agreement for that particular territory. Chair had
Mhm.
France, got Ivory Coast, and the British were there, the Portuguese were there. All of them was in that particular region, and dividing those territories, and that motivated, the guys, the ACS and their agents, because the ACS, the people who funded the ACS, were controlling the free slaves. Okay, so they all decided to demand for independence, and then the American were hesitant because the ACS was a private institution. A lot of people mistaking ACS to be for the American, but it was not the American government. It was a private institution from America. So they were requesting the American government to provide, or to colonize Liberia to be independent. And then the American government was hesitant. Apparently, they thought they would lose that control because they had control, a treaty or control treaty for that particular place that the other superpower knew of, the British, the Portuguese, the France, and what have you. You see, so because these people were from America, they already declare independent, and the American all have problem with it. As far as they were concerned, they say have protective gear over Liberia, that which they still have up to today's date. And they felt that giving the independent oil might have caused them to lose that status, and they did not want to lose it, so they delay. And then these guys, use JJ Rao to go into these territories to reconcile these people, bring them together, and form a nation. And that's how we gave birth to Liberia 1847.
So tell more about this your book. What are some of the subtitles, and maybe we can begin to look into this book.
Okay, I would begin by going as far back as relating our problem to slavery. Slavery was a form of business where slave owners came, took our people on their plantations, either sugarcane plantation or whatever plantation or factory they took them to, and they make money out of them. So when the abolition of slavery started, all right, these guys reached the point where they realized that they were no longer going to raise the kind of money that they were raising. So they smartly came together and created a mindset saying that it is time that we take our slaves, and we got a good number of slaves. Let's encourage them to take freedom. Let's make them to think that they will have freedom. But inwardly, we're going to take them somewhere into a free land and form a nation. I wish, they will take governmental seat, and then we will have control over them, and then we will be able to make money and pass it through to cleanse our money to bring it back to the United States. So they still wanted to remain in business. Okay, that was the motive. But already they told the guys that they wanted to give them freedom. That's why everybody did not come. Some people stay in America, and some people was brought to Africa on board.
Did you address the issue of how slavery started? Because there's an argument out there, and sometimes even in today's world, there are people who may have started the slave trade. The white men may have gone to Liberia and and the chiefs probably were deeply involved for the same greed that we see today. Probably the chiefs wanted a bag of salt and wanted clothes, wanted those things that were coming from the white man land. As a result, they could have started selling their own brothers and sisters. Did you address the issue as to the involvement of the natives with slave trade?
Well, I heard about that a lot here. People accuse the Africans or the indigenous for selling the slaves here in the United States, but I didn't want to go as far as that. I wanted to start from the mindset where they took the slave and why they took the slaves back to Africa. But if you want me to touch on that, I can touch on that because those chiefs had no choice. I mean, it was a form of business, and these guys went there and influenced these people. Okay, they influenced them, and if these chiefs were refused, they were going to find a way around it by all means to get people on board. And we still see it today. The people refer to it as modern slavery. So they were still going to get around it. We blame the chiefs though, because they send the soldiers into the bushes to catch our brothers and our sisters to send, but they had no choice. You just imagine, James, somebody standing by you with gun, with weapon, and you don't have weapon, and influencing your decision, you know, you level nothing. Our people knew how to make sword. Right now, they still make sword. Those traditional people, they make sword. They make all of those things that they said was exchange for slaves. Okay, so they did it, but they did it on duress. Technically, if you look at it, I read about it a whole lot, made research on it, but for the purpose of this book, I was just looking at the mindset, because the mindset developed, the corrupt mindset developed at the time they stopped slavery. So every time the guys came up with something, when there's a contact reaction, they will come up with another thing. So that's how when they abolished slavery, then they came up with their mindset to continue being in business, and it was in a form of corruption, and that this corruption has been contagious, going all the way until we saw what happened um, uh, during the George Weah government. Okay, so when he got developed a mindset about bringing the slave back home to continue to be in business where they would set a government, they didn't consider the people or the land they were going to, whether they were going to meet people there. And in actuality, when they got to Liberia, though they went to Freetown first, but they were dying from mosquito and what have you, they had to travel back to find another place that had a land in Liberia, Shabra Island. And then uh, they went and took a settlement, and some of the mistake they made, they should, when they knew that they were going to settle there, they should have taken complete record of the area. All right, they did not take complete record of the area, like looking at the borders, looking at the tribes, and taking record, because they were educated. Then some of the problem we face today, we're not going to face it. Look, we still got some land we have problem with in Ivory Coast. People tell you that in Ivory Coast there's no palm tree. So because they were using tree as a borderline, and a tree can get rotten. So when that tree gets rotten, what happened? You lose the point. So what they did, it came down to use the Kavala River. So that's why the Kavala River is being used now. So what happened with the land that is beyond the Kavala River? Ivory Coast take it. The same thing we have with Guinea and other places. You see, so when you guys went to Liberia and decided to form a state, they actually used our first president, J.J. Robert. J.J. Robert was the main drive in bringing these indigenous together, because when they got there, the people were living in settlements. They were living in settlements, like the Kru people in the area, the Lama people, the Basa people. Everybody was in settlement, and they had a way of meeting. Okay, they were nothing like a nation. But J.J. Rabble were used by the ACS to move, because they wanted to collect taxes. They wanted to start the operation, the mindset. Okay, and that's how he was very instrumental negotiating with the various, tribes, and they came together, and then they founded the nation Liberia. All right, and since then they have been ruling from 1822. All right, from 1847, because Liberia was founded in 1822, 1847, they started ruling up to 1980. All right. And then when you see the bias that's in how they were ruling, it was just certain group of people. They created LU for certain group of people, and they created BWR for certain group of people, the natives. And even at that, it was the fortunate natives that could go to BWR to learn trade. You either learn plumbing or you learn something that would be handed work to work for them. Because when it comes to a better job, they talk about credentials. And where the credential will come from the University of Liberia. So you have not had the opportunity to enter the University of Liberia. How can you compute in that particular job seeking? It
The
can't be
day, the day, the pronoun "they." Are you referring to the American Liberians?
the American Liberian.
So,
Because they were educated when it came to Liberia.
okay,
Yeah.
so they themselves weren't they victims of slavery? Because the word American Liberians, we understand it to be people who were slaves and went through the tough time in America, and for some reason, after the period of emancipation, they were taken back to Liberia. So I don't know whether
Yeah.
you did
So,
it. Uh,
sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. Go
no, go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. I'm just
Okay. So,
asking whether. Uh,
I continue to draw my idea on the mindset. The
mhm,
mindset of these guys who organized the repatriation was quite different from what they told the free slave. But then the free slave were much more educated than the indigenous they met there. You know, the whole thing happened almost like, if you imagine, like, you remember when Abraham Lincoln the guy, they kind of say in the USA that the Abraham Lincoln freed the blacks, right?
mhm,
So Abraham Lincoln freed the blacks, and they don't talk about the underlying factor. The underlying factor is Abraham Lincoln had was fighting a civil crisis where some states wanted to go as independent states, and he did not want it like that. They solved and enough, and it resulted into a crisis of war, and he was losing the war. He was going from state to state doing forced recruitment and kept losing, manpower, and he needed more manpower, and he kept losing manpower, and he wanted to win this war. So uh he lawyers advising that the best thing you can do, you need to he general advising that we need more manpower. You can bring the blacks in. And when he consulted his lawyers, and his lawyer told him that you cannot bring the blacks in because they are not citizens. You see, so because they cannot fight for America, they are not citizens. So at that point in time, the lawyer told him the best thing he can do is to declare. You have to make a declaration and making the blacks to become citizens, then they can join the manpower to fight your war. And that's why he did. But people don't talk about that underlying fighter. They only say, oh, Abraham Lincoln did extremely well by, emancipating the blacks in America. So that's the story to carry. The same thing happened with the American Liberian that went to Liberia. The underlying factor was to go and make business out of these people, to form a nation, to create a business. But they told the people that it's better you are setting free. It's better you find somewhere that you can sit and continue to run your life. But they did not leave them like that. They went with them and controlled them. You see, they were even behind the Americans, the American government to provide them independence. But the American government was afraid because they thought they could lose that status, you know. So, and America still have that status over Liberia, where they have that protective status over Liberia. And that status existed between the big nations, America, the Portuguese, the British, the France, all of them. They gotta control places, and that's why we speak their languages. So that was the motive behind it. And when they came, they established BDRI, they established UL, they created that division. And just as these guys, these slave owners were well educated, the same way the slaves were educated, then the indigenous, they met there as well. So they begin to communicate with them to be able to take control of the territory. And that's why I said they would have done much, much more better, that would have saved us today of most of these problems that we have, if they would have taken full control of the entire area instead of draining in a way that, that would just benefit them. Okay. And they actually succeeded. That's why you see Liberia had a growth, economic growth with all development. That's the reason. And they succeeded in this whole thing. And they ruled from 1822 all the way to 1980. All right. And when Doe took over, Doe also accused them of mismanagement. And then things did not go well. It became contagious because some of them are still around, and then these people ruled from 1822 to 1980, but they did not rule in isolation. They ruled with the presence of the natives, So this thing went on to the native people, And though ruled the country from 1980, you saw what happened in 1985. There was insurgency. Then 1990, okay? And before Dole took over, you saw Torbo, when Torbo sent some group of people to gain some level of education, they came by and went against the same Torbo. And they had that same bloodline, and they went on with Dole and infested the virus into Dole, and Dole became corrupt. And 1980, 85, Dole also accused for the same thing he accused other people of. All right, the same corruption. Then we see 1990, they accused Dole of the same thing. Where's the people money of corruption? And then after 1990, we always saw corruption going on. It's still alive. And you saw what happened recently.
So, I'm there's two major periods as you discuss the roadmap to the true independence of Liberia, and talking about colonization. Liberia's history is marked by argument of slavery, colonization, and we're talking about how the period of from the 1822 to the 1847, and then coming to the 1980, the period between those time and the current, from the 80s to this time. What are some of the catching point that you emphasize? Because it's easy to blame one group of people. There has been a trend of history. The natives, blame American Liberians for the failure of Liberia, and the natives have had opportunity to serve coming from the 80s all the way up to current. We have seen the natives. Now, did you address the issue of the two different groups in your book?
Well, if you and myself look at the at Liberia today, from 1822 up to today's date, who actually benefited from Liberia?
Yeah, that's a question that probably I'm just thinking whether you address those issues sometime here.
So I will draw your attention to Firestone. See the setup of Firestone. All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You see that we produce the rubber in Liberia, and the latex is collected, processed, not to finish product, but processed to some limit, put into the container, shipped abroad, and then they find a buyer abroad who then put the money in a U.S. bank. Liberia don't receive that money. If that money were to come to Liberia to buy the rubber or to process it there, Liberians are going to get jobs. We're going to get developed. People are going to get money and be able to run their household and build houses. And the money are going to be in the bank when the investor come to buy the rubber, and that money is going to be in the bank, and the bank are going to loan it up to improve Liberian businesses. And you're going to see a major change in our country. But the way it's set.
But what is I'm afraid that we shouldn't run into the normal Liberian way of discussion. But when it comes to Firestone, one will ask, even the most recent or the current government, what stopped the legislators from reviewing those major concession agreements?
So that's why that's my focus point in the book, because I'm saying that these guys will behave the way they behave because of bad governance, and bad governance comes with corruption, and corruption is contagious. So I'm saying that these people came to Liberia with a mindset to raise money, to enrich themselves, because they were getting rich out of the plantations and they abolished slavery. So they had to find another way around. That's how they took these guys to go and form a nation somewhere to be able to use them to get money for themselves. So when they transported the guys, they also worked with them to set up a government And then that's why you see Liberia had an economic growth or development. And these people did not rule in isolation. So these contagious, you know, behavior were passed on to people who accepted their will. And that's why you see continue to go on up to where the Liberian people stood or say, enough is enough.
Mm.
And they did this one here democratically, but 1980, there were firing of gun. Innocent people lost their life. And 1985, people lost their life. 1990, people lost their life. In fact, like one of the questions you asked me, I wrote a book in honor of those people who actually lost their life, innocent people who lost their life, who had nothing to do with the crisis, but lost their life. And then at the end of the day, we still see the face of the reason the war came for. Because the war came, they said they were corrupt. And then after the war, we still face economic war and corruption. Like you said, the people in the legislature, instead of facing the fight, saying the fight, we start seeing people introducing brown envelopes and what have you. Okay. So the book is focusing certain things. The mindset that went to Liberia had continued to go on. And even though people use weapons, people die, innocent people die, it did not change anything. And we're hoping, because what I talk about good governance is just what the Liberian people did few years after I wrote my book. You know, uh, uh, we hope that this will be a good governance, because the trend that the Liberian people took this time, this change, it came in a democratic form. It came peacefully. They stood up. They stood to it and said, no, enough is enough. We are going to define our enough. And at this point, we choose to decide who control our life and how our life should go. All right. So we are yet to see. But
Since since the book was written in the period of the Weah's government and being published, I guess after the election, and seeing a new government, I mean, coming from one native leader to another native leader, what are some of your expectations? Did you make any recommendation in your book? Is that
yes, exactly. After talking about uh, these mindset and these corrupt behaviors that got us the way we are, economic growth or development, then I came up with uh, uh, the way forward with
okay?
suggestions
Mm,
that will help us to move forward, provided this government can implement those things. Because some of like the first thing we talk about that could get the way forward is, because the first thing we define government. What is a government? Government is an agent of the state. So people turn it around. Instead of the government being the agent of the state, they make the government to be, Buga over the state. And the people should be the one controlling the state, because the government, because the government is an agent. You imagine you send your container to Liberia, you find a broker or agent to free your container. You tell him what you want, and he work for you, and he free your container and let you and tell you, oh James, I free your container. That's what the agent do.
mm,
So the government is an agent of the state, and they're supposed to listen to the state. Now you talk about the people in the house and fires too. Instead of representing the people to the president, they representing the president to the people after they vote them in. They go and tell the people the good things. But when the people vote them into office, then they begin to represent the president to the people. They do the opposite, which is wrong. The people
okay,
elected you to speak for them, to represent them. And then you come in to tell them what the president said. You should be telling the president what the people say.
okay,
So we firstly decided to define the government. We got to know what is a government. People miss the mark. And having defined government, we need somebody that will lead this government that got love for country, for the state, the people. You got to have love for the state. And that goes to the current president, who was, who got a popular vote of the people. to love the people and let the government be of the people. Let it be the people government. That's why everybody came together and elected this government, with popular vote. All right. So if the president loves the people and make the government to be of the
I
people,
think I think he got a narrow vote instead of popular vote. Would that be right? Because I'm more concerned about that phrase. A popular vote, it means the percentage was very very wide. I think he won a narrow percentage. I mean, I
all
know that
right,
may not
yeah.
be, but just throwing that in.
Okay, so the focus of the book has to do with the definition of a government
Mm.
and for the president to love his people.
Right.
All right. That's the recommendation.
Let's go down to the recommendation. The some of the list of the
Okay.
recommendations that you have
Okay.
here.
So just to come down to some of them, we talk about good governance. We talk about a president should love his people. We talk about unification. Unification is key. The
Okay.
first thing, if you understand government, it should be of the people and you love your people. Right now, the third thing you should do is to unify the country because during the time we saw the people voting for Boakai, there was no borderland. There was nothing like a trap. We saw no trap. People actually said they was defining their enough, and they did define their enough, and they chose him to be the leader. So he need to bring everybody together to show the difference between him and the previous government or previous governments. Because I don't want this thing to be just on George Weah. That's why I said you don't
Yeah,
look at
because
where you fell.
I was looking at you because your background from the onset, you say from Lufa and Braga from Lufa. So I'm wondering whether you're tailoring your discussion of favoring Braga this time because of your Kingsman.
Well, Boka for Foya district. I'm from Vonjama district, but
That's the same Lufa County.
well, I wrote my book few years before even Boga ran as stand-up bearer. I wrote my books, few years before Boga became stand-up bearer. I didn't even know that Boga was going to be chosen by Unity Party to be the
Okay.
stand-up bearer. And
Okay.
then, like I said earlier, when I saw the landscape, I saw things going the way it was. I wrote my book. I was so excited because not just for Boaka, but for the way we define good governance. And then people kept talking about good governance. Even people who were supporting Boaka, they were not just particular about Boaka, but they kept talking exactly the things that I talk about in my book.
Okay.
So so unification is key.
So can we have unification when there are people who quote unquote corrupt? There are other reports out there that should be looked at very seriously. Do you want the current government? And I'm saying that because you said unification is one of your recommendations, calling on the government, not just the broader government, but any future government to come. Because you're both going to live with Liberia for long, right?
Right.
So not just this administration is coming, but even after that and after that and after that. So
Right.
I'm concerned now. Do we prosecute those persons who are funding corruption? Since indeed corruption is also being a catch. The mindset of the funders of Liberia and the miracle Liberia, those free slaves that came, they also getting involved in the trade, not just human trade, but economic trade. And they're at the disadvantage of Liberia from what you're telling us. I'm wondering, can there be a unification, proper unification without accountability? Those 250 persons that died during the war, do you want accountability for them? Do you want, I don't know whether through your unification call, you really think about it in a serious way as to how you can achieve unification?
Oh yes. In fact, I just earlier told you that Roman bull in honor of those innocent people who died. I myself, I almost became victim. My brother and I were traveling through the better forest, and they accused us that we are Manigo people, and we told them we're not Manigo, and they said we're lying, and they told us to speak Loma. We spoke Loma. My brother, I, Dayrell, myself, and we spoke Loma. They still did not believe it. All right, and then they told us, "You guys are Loma. Let's check your bike." And luckily for us, they checked our bike. we we are member of the pro society, and
Okay.
that saved us. Or else it would have been a different thing because nobody were around to talk for us. And one of our cousin died. They call Wizian. Okay, Wizian. He was named after our father. That's one of our father nieces, and he was very dark and tall, and they accused him for being Mandigo. May his soul rest in perfect peace. He lost his life. So I remember all those innocent people that died. That those are the people I wrote a book in honor of, because from what we saw after the war, it means that they died for nothing. The change did not come. You
Hmm.
see, they killed them and the change did not come. So, yes, when we talk about good governance, coming back to your question, when we talk about good governance, prosecution have to go on, because the difference between good governance and bad governance is people, group of people, we can call it cartel or bad guys, group of people deny other people of their resources, where they take get some financial gain that's supposed to benefit everybody. So good governance, yeah, they have to prosecute people, but it should be justified. They should review the audit reports, and if possible, they may have, peer group have another auditor review the other auditor, so that you won't do something and regret it tomorrow.
Okay.
Because I work with Voscon, and we used to have what they call peer review. Okay,
Yeah.
when you go and conduct the audit, another auditing firm come and review, and then your report. So we should have peer review, like to be able to really get the guys, funny the people culpable, guilty of what they did, and then yeah, they should face the law. In fact, that lead us to our next
Mhm.
line of item when we talk about recommendation. Pressing, we need pressing. Yeah,
Why
when we
the prisons that we have in Liberia? What wrong with them?
they are not of standard. People, you
Okay.
go there, they imprison people, and the prison compound is not of standard. They need to prioritize prison center, like developed countries, like area America. You have private people build prison center and guarantee, when the state can inspect it and guarantee the security, and accept it, and use your prison compound, and people raise money from there. It's a form of business as well. So we need to prioritize it. We need better prison centers where we can have the people go, area for different crimes. You don't have everybody one place, and then people at the South Beach Prison Center appear like they are neglected. Government don't put money aside. The city we're talking about, cartel people economically abuse the rest of the citizen. So people go to jail. Some of them are justified. Some of them are not even justified. Take for example, like sometimes our court system want to nail you, they bring your case on a Friday because the court don't open Saturday and Sunday. And and when it's in the afternoon, once they don't go into that case, they're going to take you there until morning before they go into the case. And between that time, they have not, sometimes you may not even have sufficient meal to eat. You're not being found guilty, and you have to go through that strain and stress just to find out. Maybe Monday morning when you go to the court hall, you might not even be guilty, but you have gone through part of the punishment. So we need to have a standardized prison center. We need to build prison center in certain sector of the country, big prison center that will be of standardized. And
Okay, maybe Baka gonna do that. Maybe Baka will follow up with that recommendation to see how he can build modernized prison compound
yeah, because
for.
people need to have a prison where they can serve their time
Mm,
for wrongdoings. Yeah.
okay. So any further recommendation you have there?
Yeah, besides the pricing standard, we also talk about border control. It's very important. Our immigration system is really weak. It need to be strengthened up. Immigration is very vital to any country. You
Mm.
know, um, one time I listened to Trump speaking, and he talked about border control. Then I remember Trump talking about how uh, they take people from the prison in Mexico and bring them to America, and he's going to make sure he tighten the border until people who got people who will come to Liberia from Mexico and other neighboring country come in with something, but not people who are neglected in their country. And I begin to have that passion. I begin to relate it to Liberia. I say, can you imagine America always want people who have who can contribute to this to their nation to come to their country. They don't want liability because Trump was talking about people who come from prison and liability on the state. They raising the budget of the Social Security, they raising the budget of Medicare, Medicare, Medicaid, and what have you. So I look at our country. That's one of the reasons why most of the assistance program in Africa fail, more especially Liberia. Let me limit it to Liberia. If you come on now, like take for example, I got my master's in human services, and I one day want to come to Liberia to organize, or human service organization to take care of these Zogos and these people, and bring the quality all in them, because some of them got quality, but because of the background, because they feel neglected.
So,
So
so, so, so let me just throw this in. If Booker was to ever call you to go and establish the human service sector of Liberia, are you willing?
yeah, I would be glad to do it, but this is the problem that are coming our way. This is the reason why we talk about border control, because sometimes I think about, hey, I want to establish my own human service program. I work in a very good area right now. Upon my graduation, I work with the Divine Providence, and Divine Providence is under the Cali Diocese of Philadelphia. So I work with the Cali Diocese of Philadelphia Human Services right now. So if I thought on establishing my own human service group in Liberia to help those guys who people refer to as Zogo, my problem is we don't have border control. And what I see happening in the South region, if Jane, I even talk to you. Let's assume you the president. I talk with you about establishing human service program, and you created a budget for me to operate with. What's going to happen is all our people in Liberia who come from Sierra Leone going to call the people from Sierra Leone to come for that assistance program. All the people from Guinea going to call the people from Guinea to come into Liberia for the assistance program. All the people in Niba going to call the people from Africa to come. So you notice that most of these things that happen in Liberia or in the South region, it uh it felt easily because the inflow of people from the neighboring country come and fill the budget line. So you find out that your expenditure will far exceed the income that you have to work with. So this why we need to have serious control of our border. And if all boil down to immigration, we got porous border system. Can immigration protect our country? I mean, for me, it's no, they cannot protect our country because we see it happening to the rest. The Fulani people in Liberia got their counterparts number from Guinea, Sierra Leone. They call each other and talk about where there is shortage. And then if they want to create more shortage in that country, they put everything on the truck and carry it to a particular country to create political shortage in that country. So I think about it. I have learned, I come this far in human services, and I specialize in leadership and organization management. How do we, I think about it every time, how do we help this country? Because one of the things we could do about the South region before talking about Africa is the unity of the South region. If the country had come together, it would be easy. But the way we are divided and we sit very close to each other, any good thing in Liberia, everybody pull from Guinea, from Sierra Leone, they come and overflow the budget. That's what causing things to fail. Then anything happening in Guinea, all the people then they call the people from Liberia, from Africa and other things, they flow there to fill the budget. Because everybody looking for assistance. And all the country they got, majority of people are very poor in all of these neighboring countries, the South region. So you don't blame them again. But
Okay.
if we can create a way around it, where if we're trying to establish human services program in Liberia, then we'll have to talk to our counterparts, our neighbors, Ivory Coast, Guinea, and Sierra Leone, to see how we can partner and work together so that people won't have to cross the border to go and get benefit from the other country. So
Mr.
that
Dayrell, time is fast spent, and I know this book. I will wish to read it, and maybe we can have another round of discussion. But let's look at how some of your summary points in that book, the
yeah. So
roadmap to the true independence of Liberia. If you're watching, this is Honorable Dayrell. He's the publisher for the book, The Roadmap to the True Independence of Liberia, and he says it's on what? It's on Amazon, and it's been sold, right?
yeah, it's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and is with the publisher. Right now, you can get it from the publisher's Postal Doreen's Publishing Company. All right, you can
Yeah.
get it from there. James, I think I sent you the link and the
Right.
number.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
there's some
to
of the
get
summary notes. Yeah.
to for Labrador experience through independent, we might go through some of these things. Then here, control our border, improve social security, encourage merit systems in
Okay.
our system, and also give incentives. People must be able to gain value for their worth. There might be incentives. We must encourage community participation in national issues. People got to be part of community participation, and they must get benefit for what they do. People love their country, but they also wearing clothes to come. They also transporting themselves. They need to wash their clothes. So we got to reduce poverty massively in Liberia or the South region, and to reduce poverty, we have to work with our counterparts. Liberia want to reduce poverty. They can't do it in isolation. They got to work with Guinea. They got to work with Africa. They got to work with Sierra Leone, because if not, you start the program, there will be inflow of people from the neighboring country, and the budget will not make it. So I got all those things as steady. And then we got to reduce poverty. We got to have zero hunger. Hunger kills. Hunger is not good. We need to improve agriculture and reduce hunger in the country. We can have our citizens being malnourished, and we also have to have good health care. Our people have to look good. Good health care is very important, and we got to have clean water and sanitation. Look at when you go to the area called Interior in the US here, you see the dog. Look at Jacket. Look at Jalatan. Look at the river, the creek. We need to clean our place and have people having boat ride and just build, you know, bulwark, have the bull for the boat and ship and canoe to dock there, all right, and let people have ride, go for boat ride, and you see the community will make money out of the boat ride, But we got a place look so dirty, swampy, and our money will losing,
Mm.
So we need to
I,
clean the
I'm.
water.
I'm.
You
I'm.
see,
I'm.
people throw trash in the water,
Okay.
which
I'm.
is
I'm.
bad.
I'm always concerned when I'm reading any novel, book, articles as to some of the reference point. Do you have any major references that people, can, because that's one thing that is lacking. And I, like, for example, when I was in high school, there was this, they used to call it a historical light of Liberia. I have searched for that book since after the Civil War. I've never seen that book. That was one of the best historical book that we had during our time. It was well cataloged. I mean, talking about like the issues of Liberia. So, do you have some of the major references that we can, um, I mean, cross our eyes on, just in case? I know we have to read a book, but yeah,
Yeah, so if you read a book, you look at the back, you see a lot of references, and uh, if we have the time, I can tell you a little bit about uh, um, No Longer at Ease. You read No Longer at Ease?
yeah,
Okay, so I think Things Fall Apart, the guy that I think Things Fall Apart, Okongo, I think that his grandson with the Okongo that are there in no longer at ease. And
Okay.
you saw the way the guy frowned on corruption in no longer at ease. And they had a time. All right. I just
No,
wanted to say,
we don't really have the we
okay,
have
okay. I thought
we
we
have
had
four
a time.
minutes.
Yeah, okay. So
What I wanted, okay. I mean, we might find. I'm going to read a book. We will find a
yeah,
time.
read the
I
book, you'll
said I need to
find
tweak
reference.
the book to see whether the book is actually, uh, touching on the issues, or if the book is biased against the American Liberians, and you know, you being a native person, I want to compare the
The
actuality.
book didn't talk about American Liberian or native. The reason it came to the native and the American Liberian came in has to do with the mindset, the corrupt mindset
Yeah.
that transmitted from the American
But
Liberian to
this
the
is what
native people.
that's what happened now when you
But
read books
you see
sometimes.
the range from the
Yeah.
time the ACS hit Liberia,
Mhm.
and founded Liberia. It did 22. The American Liberian and led Liberia, ruled Liberia from 1822 to 1980. Then the natives took over, and from what you saw, the way they rule, you can see that it was highly corrupt. So it became contagious. It just kept going on. So we want to have a cutoff point. Where can we stop this thing here? Where representatives will represent the people that voted then, where the government will be well defined to be agent of the state, where the president will have law for country, because we don't experience this thing to have true independence.
Mhm.
We don't experience this thing to have true independence. We never experienced it in the past, and we are not experiencing it. And we hope that this time something will be done. If it is not done, like you said, the book stay there for future government that will see the roadmap and follow it. The roadmap is there. You see, it's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you have joined us, this is the African Actions Network. We are here, and we are glad to talk to people like uh, Mr. Dayrell. He's the publisher for the roadmap to the true independence of Liberia. We urge you, the listeners, to do all you can to have a copy of this book. It's better to know about Liberia, right? It's about time that we all begin to look at the books that are written. In fact, I'm one person who believes that Liberia is becoming to be a country that is lost. There's no much information that we can find.
Right.
You get online, everybody is churning a whole lot of stuff online. If you want to just look at the Constitution of Liberia, there are different versions of the Constitution online. So whether or not the government of Liberia has this constitution still well, no matter what it is, this is the constitution that we respect. Because being a constitutional lawyer, I'm always concerned the words that you find, if it differ with another stuff, you give different interpretation. And as we all age out and leave this world, the younger people that will come. So there's a need to collectively get all Liberia's history into place. So to hear Mr. Dira talking about the roadmap to true independence of Liberia is good. I haven't read the book yet, but I will definitely buy the book and read it myself. So that I urge other people to buy the book and read. So Mr. Dira, it was a pleasure to have you on Twitter Radio. And you
Thank
can
you, sir.
give us some general comment about yourself, your book, and then you close out with a closing statement.
Well, like I said earlier, I'm Saywalla Dayrell from Liberia, and I'm so excited to be on your radio station to tell the Liberian people and our foreign friends about the roadmap that will give us the true independence. That's why I said Liberia and Liberian first. I was in Liberia. I worked in the bank, and it was a Nigerian bank. And because it was a Nigerian bank, only Nigerian man could become the director for the bank. And we saw what he did to us. He was very cruel, and uh, I think it happened in other sectors too. And that's why below the roadmap for true independence, we talk about Liberia and Liberian first. So we got millionaires, we got people in Liberia who have money. They should be able to open banks. They should be able to invest in the uh, Liberian brothers and sisters. And I hope people will read the book and see the logic in it. If you look at the book here, uh, some of the people who put it is some of the people who put it at our models. You see here, this is the market area at the top of the book.
Mm,
Most of us indigenous went to school with the support of the market women's, of the market women, and see the market places, see how dirty and bad it look like. How many of us consciously can go back there and say, oh, these people supported us when we were in school? We need to look at where they are sitting. We don't care about that. So I took this picture purposely on my book to show it to the Liberian people that we need to take care of the marketplaces. We need to face the marketplaces. Travel in developed country and see how the marketplaces look like. And we still got the people who sponsor us to go to school. All right.
mm.
Sitting in the water, sitting in the dirty places. It's not fair, you
Okay.
know, to to
Okay.
to
Well, it was a pleasure to have you, and we're going to talk more. Um, Probably when I buy the book and look at it, we will look at it, or we might have different discussions, different topic or something. You in the area of economics, we will have. Um, that's an interesting area to look at. But yeah, I mean, you talk the talk as you wrote it. Liberia history is marked by struggles and colonization issue, and the issue of slavery, the issue of massive corruption. Talk about government coming, government going, and the people still being the same. And your recommendation is that you hope that there will be a roadmap to true independent, meaning Liberia will begin to enjoy the fruit of their labor. Hoping that since the book came out during the period of the Joseph Buckeye's leadership to be,
right.
you're also hoping that he can look at the issues of Firestone, the agreement, look at the legislators to be a group of people who will represent the people and not the president. So again, it was a nice time having you, and we hope that we can have a better conversation next time. So thank you so much for your conversation with us and the people of Liberia who are listening.
Thank you for having me, James.
Okay. So that's how we come to the close of this conversation. It has been a pleasure to have with us Mr. Dayrell, who is now the publisher. This is your first book, right?
Yeah, this is my first book. It came out December 1st. When I came home from work, I saw the book in the mail. And
Okay.
the publisher sent me an email saying that the first book from the machine goes to the
Okay.
publisher, and there are other copies coming, and it's now online. The public can
How much
buy
you
it.
sell? How much you selling the book for? Let me before we
The
leave.
publisher decided the price is $13. If you look at the barcode right here,
Uh-huh.
if you look right here,
Oh, but that's a cheap book, right? $13 for a book. It's cheap, right?
$13. Yeah, they raised the price based on the cost, the printing cost, the printing cost, because they did the print and
Okay.
they will attach the price on it to be able to get a certain percentage back for their, so they determine the cost.
Okay. So on the next time, we want to say thank you so much for being there. Oh, do all a favor. Like, unlike, comment, and share. We would appreciate if you just do that for us. Okay. So let me see. David Freeman. Let me see. There's okay. I see few persons watching. Let me just close my eyes on vocal and when in the program. We had Bentu Formula. I think Bentu that's uh, we have Michael Y. Net Neto. Merry Christmas to you, Mr. Jensen. Okay, Neto say thank you so much. There are, I mean, let me say that to you too. Merry Christmas to you, Neto, and
We
to
should be
Dayrell
saying,
too.
James.
Yeah, then we have David Freeman. David Freeman, hi, brother. Oh, David Freeman, that's my childhood friend. Oh, wow. You say, well, Liberians do not hold their leaders accountable for corruptibility. Okay, Mr. David, I hear you. One corrupt regime protects another. Yeah, that Mr. Dayrell. So I think that goes to Joseph Broker, right? We hope he
Yeah,
doesn't get
one
a shield.
corrupt regime protect the other. So that's the
Yeah,
contagious part of it. You remember when I told you the thing
yeah,
started long,
right,
long
right.
time. It just been going.
And the
That's
family say,
not
can you
right.
please show us the book? Okay, I think you did that already. We have political parties con- contestation for power is divisive. Okay, that's David Freeman again. And he said, how can Liberians unite when one regime suppresses a group of other Liberians for not being part of their political party? Interesting conversation. And then we have
You
again,
remember, James, we talk about our part there. To avoid being biased, you should have peer review, do or audit. Or if you already have the audit, you can have an independent ballot review that audit so that it will be clear that these people either can go free or they will have to serve the term.
okay, so again they said that's from David again. He said equal rights and justice is the way to go. Punish impartially for punishment, right?
Right.
Impartially,
Impartially.
no, punish partially for wrongs people do. For wrongs that people do, okay, it's understood. Then Ben the family is also calling and say, can you post the link when to publish the book? Okay, I think he spoke about it. And those who want to, you can maybe later he can even go online and put any information he wants to. The listeners and the readers will be keen in knowing any other detail. Can you, okay, post the link where we can purchase the book? Okay, yeah, I think we can do that later, right?
Right.
Then the last, not the least, he said there are a lot of books on Liberia, but they have brought no change. What Liberia needs is patriotism and nationalism. Okay, so the way from it, that's you're so right. I mean, we need patriotic Liberia, and I think what Mr. Dayrell has done is just one of those patriotic duty. Let's
Yeah,
continue
we
to talk
said we
about
should
it.
have
Yeah,
a we should define government first. It should be an
yeah.
agent. The government have to we have to make the government an
Okay.
agent. We applaud them through
All
the
right.
vote.
So, Mr.
Yeah.
Dayrell, I think we have gone above the time that we set, and
Okay.
as
Yeah.
I said again, we're going to call you back until next time. Let's call this a day. And happy Christmas to each and everyone. I forgot from the onset. You woke me up this morning, my Christmas prayer, everything, you cut it off. So we're going to talk more about that. But again, this is how we end up with the program. Happy Christmas. Merry Christmas to each and every one of you watching. Just like, comment, and
Thank you for
share.
having me, and happy Christmas to 2A radio station and the entire crew members.
Okay, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you. Bye for now.